so thanks for tuning into my first video on YouTube. Welcome to Hammer Time Home Renovation and DIY Home Improvement. I'm doing today a project that'll save you a ton of money and it'll come out nice. We're gonna do some feather finish countertops, walking you through step by step on how we'll change these laminate countertops we have from old and boring and worn out to something new and fresh, modern. Drop some comments down below. And be sure to subscribe. We'll have tons of content coming out in the future just about home improvement and how we can save money. So we'll be doing home improvement on a budget all throughout the channel. Let's dive right into materials. What you'll need. Everything will be listed down below. But I'm just going to do a walkthrough with you to give you a general idea of everything that you're going to need for this project. So going from left to right here, you want to protect yourself. Start first with safety. Get yourself a respirator. We have actually a mixing paddle. We picked everything up from Home Depot, a little bit of a mixture here from Amazon. Got some mixing trays, specialty trowels that I ordered from Amazon. These are called float trowels. I figured if they were good enough for the pros, they're good enough for me. And they have this rounded profile that's gonna help us achieve like the super smooth finish we want. You also wanna invest in some protective plastic drop cloth. That's gonna be the key here as this project does generate a lot of dust. Got some microfiber towels just for cleanup and wiping in between coats. We got some trisodium phosphate, also known as TSP here. That's going to help us in our prep steps and cleaning and removing everything. This is totally optional if you guys don't want it. I have a pry bar that was to help me remove the backsplash there. A little bit of tape for the protection, and the star of the show. Here we have some ARDEX Feather Finish. I ordered mine in white. If you can see my kitchen here, I just did some new paint. Sherwin-Williams basically with a black finish. So I want to go with something a little bit lighter to help the space brighten up. So I'm going to go with the white feather finish and ARDEX. This is going to be our skim coat, and this is how we're going to make our concrete countertops. All right. So I also have an assortment of different sandpapers here. You don't have to go this far up. There's tons of videos on YouTube kind of going through this, and I'll also link those down below if you want to, just have multiple sources to look. I know that's the way I like to work when I'm doing my DIY. But I'm going to go all the way up to 1,000. And stay tuned. I have a special technique we're going to use that's going to differ from all those videos that were on here before. All right, so go from 80 grit all the way up to 1,000. All right, next we got some concrete sealer. This is special order from Amazon. You can get this Ching. I believe it is a water-based sealer. I'm not sure if it's acrylic or if it's urethane. I'm not entirely sure. But again, I've seen a bunch of people use this. It's food safe. So, UV resistant is good to use all around. Also invested in some plastic putty knives. This is just going to help me spread this out initially. Then we'll move over to those trowels for a smoother, more professional finish. And, just got a bunch of different stuff here. I got a sanding block and I also have an orbital palm sander. Now, anything that's not listed here that I end up using in a project, it's just because I didn't lay it out. The first step you want to take when doing this, all right, you're gonna need 3 tools to remove your backsplash. You wanna go in with your utility knife, okay? Take this cheap box cutter, go in and score along the edge of the caulking. You can see that kind of in between the seams right there. They use this to fill any gaps or imperfections when installing this. So you can see I'm getting my blade within that and just scoring along lightly. Using light, mild pressure, I'm not pressing too hard here. The goal is really to maintain the integrity of the drywall so that I don't have to go into any drywall repair after this. Now, after you use your utility knife to score along the edge of the caulking and separate it from the drywall and from the countertop itself, you can use this little pry bar. It doesn't have to be a huge pry bar, right? Keep it super simple. Use this little pry bar, all right? Get within the back of this, okay? I'm gonna just tap with my little mini hammer here I have. Again, your tools don't have to be huge. You can get affordable tools and still make this work. Tap in right there. And as you can see, if you lightly pry, it'll start to separate. Now, that's where you'll flip it around. Use your little claw hook here and just roll up. And this is usually secured in with some nails, a little bit of glue. But given the age of this is probably around like 20 years old. So not super secure anymore. And that's another reason for me to want to get rid of it. As more context before we go into our prep step here. Now, there's 2 scenarios you might encounter, I believe, with this. Actually, 3. So with mine, I was lucky enough to have counters that went all the way back to the wall here and they met at the wall, so I don't have to do any like filling or anything like that. Yours may be slightly different. There are counters where if you take off that back piece, essentially the backsplash that comes with these countertops, a lot of times there could be a gap there in between your wall. So to remedy that, you can use a foam backer rod that you get from Home Depot, run it along that channel that will be there if I had like that gap. And then what you want to do is then fill it with like some Bondo. You can get Bondo in the paint section of any big box store, Lowe's or Home Depot. Sand that down smooth and then you're ready to go. And the other scenario is this could all be one piece, so it may not be detachable. For that, you can rent an undercut tool that'll allow you to kind of cut this flush with a cabinet. And you can look those up right on Google or anything like that. You can find it's just an undercut tool. You can look it up for backsplash. It'll help you to like, take this out and level it all out and smooth it out. All right, so enough blabbering, enough chatting here. I'm gonna get into the sanding. I won't bore you guys with the whole thing, but I'm just going to give you a general idea of steps I'm taking here by grit. All right. If everything's taped up, that needs to be taped up. As you can see, I got some plastic tape laid out. We're going to take our orbital palm sander, a bit of 60 grit, okay? 60 grit sandpaper. Feel free to take a screenshot right there. Slap it on our palm sander. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with this prep step here. Just take your time. That's the most important thing. Take your time and do a good job prepping the surface. We want to make sure we get a good mechanical bond to a non-porous surface, all right? Laminate is non-porous, so the concrete will just sit on top and act as a barrier. So we really want to scuff this up and give it something to bite onto. Now, one thing you might encounter when doing this project, especially with a little bit older countertops, is a little bit of delamination. So if you can see here, this just came free. I'm assuming it's because of water. It's right next to the sink. Made a lot of sense there. Had a lot of delamination. So these pieces I just glued back down with a little bit of wood glue and some tape and a little bit of super glue just to get it to set up a little bit quickly on the edges. Put a little bit of weight on there. And this, I'm gonna do the same thing. This piece, if you can see that I had to glue down originally, is pretty secure. It's stable. That's not going anywhere. So we don't want this to delaminate or be lifting while we're doing our thing. So that's something that you can encounter while doing this. So just pay attention. Basically, I scuffed everything down with 60 grit. Made sure to remove as much as I can. Just you really want to scuff the surface up at this step. Try to remove the haze if you got laminate. It's gonna feel like you're not doing anything. Just stay patient. It took me about an hour, 30 minutes to do my full surface. So a bit tedious, but you'll get it done. Just stay patient. So use that 60 grit, use an orbital sander, put some headphones on, and go ahead and lock into what you're doing. All right, so next, we've got the adhesion we want. I think the feather finish will have something to bite onto with the 60 grit being there. If you're having trouble getting behind that sink, go ahead and use like a block sander. Just get your hand back there and run it just so it has something to bite onto. That's the most important thing. I already went and wiped down my countertops with some isopropyl alcohol. That's just to remove any kind of oils or anything like that from the surface. I'm gonna do a second wipe, but this time instead with TSP. The reason I'm doing that is because in the cooking areas, a lot of times, you won't notice, but it'll be like a microscopic kind of oil or grease that may accumulate just from normal wear and tear, normal cooking. So I want to make sure that there's no substances on the countertop that may prevent the feather finish from sticking. So I've got my mixing tray here, and right off the bat, again, I got my plastic putty knife that I'm ready to take on. Also have my mixing paddle and my little handy drill just to speed up the mixing process a bit. Also, sidebar guys, keep in mind this stuff is supposed to dry in 15 minutes. It's ready made to be quick dry. So when you're doing this, just as another tip or heads up, just do try your best to not mix too much at once, make it manageable. So I'm experimenting live here with you guys, so we'll see how it comes out together. It's my first time trying this, so I'm gonna go 2 to 1, and I'm gonna mix up small batches of this without mixing too much. All right, so we got it mixed. I would say about to the consistency of like peanut butter, smooth peanut butter for reference. So, or toothpaste really. What I'm gonna do is start by just applying this, spreading it out, super thin, okay? Nice and thin, nice and thin. I'm not gonna get too crazy with this first coat. And I've heard people say it's probably better in most cases to just get your hand in this. It's gonna sound crazy, but get your hand in and get around those edges. Nice and smooth, get that on the edges. Oh yeah, I'm liking this color actually. I'm going with the white finish, but this color looks great. I won't lie to you. I don't think the video does it justice. It's a pretty nice gray color. All right. Definitely don't want to leave any crazy high spots, so I'm gonna come back. I gotta be a little bit quicker here. Just trying to make use of all the material. I made a gigantic mess here. All right, now I got my handy dandy trowel right here. We're gonna try this first, see how this comes out. Get it a little bit wet. Come back, see if I can smooth. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, guys. Look how this coming out. It's all about the tool sometimes. Sometimes all about the tool, right? No edges. So you saw those harsh edges kind of disappear there. That's what I'm going for. Not complete coverage. We just want to smooth out those bumps, because my logic is that if I can get it, try to get this smooth. That's something we have to do. Let's recreate, et cetera, et cetera. So keep it really flat on the edges, no pressure at all. Just kind of like letting the trowel do its thing. Let the tool work in this case. Don't apply any pressure. Let the tool do its thing. All right, so the first part is down. My phone died. I'm recording on my phone here. So my camera died there for a second. So sorry I didn't get the entire process. But what I did was showed you the gist. Basically, you lay it down with the plastic putty knife, okay? Then you want to come back with your nicer tools, smooth edge, trowel finish right there. Or rounded edge trowel finish where you can, essentially, start to kind of feather that in and smooth it out. So hopefully this time I can show you a little bit of the process on this surface and we can see where we go from there. I can show you the technique I use. All right, so we got our mud mixed. Again, following that same process, using your paddle mixture. Come in with your plastic trowel. I'm keeping them wet. You want to clean these in between your coats here, okay? Perfect. Now, keep it simple. Keep it stupid simple. All right, got a nice clean surface. Go ahead and just lay that out. Spread that out nice and smooth. Okay. Yeah, nice and smooth. Keep it easy. Flatten out. So flatten out. This would be like more steep. Don't come in at a steep angle. Just kind of keep it flat. Again, this is where you want to pick some up with your hands right there. Come in. Be careful around your cabinets, obviously, if you don't, they prep well, but nice and smooth. All right. And I'm just gonna cut in a little bit around the sink. Almost like I'm doing a grout line, like I'm cleaning up some grout. You just wanna cut it smooth. All right, so I'm gonna lay down a little bit more material. Rinse your hands. Try to get that, just spread out evenly is what you're going for with this plastic putty knife. You're not gonna get it smooth. Again, you're gonna get those lines, those ridges. Don't worry about it. Just try to get it applied evenly. And just switching in between tools from hands to back over the trowel, back over the hand. All right, going step by step. Just becoming one with the concrete. All right, it's like you sculpt a marble here. This trowel is nice and clean. See that? Keep it nice and clean. It's okay if it's wet. Don't worry about it. So come in, again, not at a raking angle. You want to be at a flat angle. Smooth. Just come in and smooth it out. That's smooth. Putting this back into the water. calling this bad boy Big Bertha. This is when you want to pull out your round Big Bertha trowel here. This is about 18 inches. Come in. Since we're dealing with a large surface, you know, you just want to get it as smooth as can. Flat, almost like flat, almost, you know, just barely tilted. All right, that's one. Just make sure you're scraping. Make sure you're keeping that surface clean. Nice, yeah, see? Keep it nice and clean in between, and just fold it. Just fold it, nothing crazy. Perfect. Just fill in some voids. Nice. All right, guys, so I told you I was experimenting with this. This is my first time doing it. As you can see, my first layer here is kind of hard to touch. It's absorbent, right? All right, you can see that? That's not moving too much. It's pretty much hard to touch. I had this old grout sponge that you would typically use to clean up hazy grout after doing like a tile job. I had it laying around. And what I did is if you can see, while this is still damp and curing, right? Not like completely dry, came back just to help myself in the future when it comes to sanding. And you can see a little like dents like that. Just go right in. It's gonna remove some, so you don't wanna use any pressure at all, okay? No pressure. And look at that. It's coming off with like a cool kind of smoothing effect, which is good, all right? Let me give you a better example. See those scuffs, scrapes, kind of things there? I got my sponge. Watch it disappear. Look at that. So I just probably saved myself a few hours of sanding right there. My goal is to try to make this look good while also trying to invent some new tech and bring some new practices into this, basically, like use some techniques that I thought was missing from the other videos. Right, so our first coat is down. We got it knocked out. It's starting to dry up here. I'm gonna wait, I think about 6 hours at a time. I'm done for the day, so typically you could wait about 6 hours. I think minimum 3 hours. I like to wait 6 hours just to let this fully harden, given that I was working about 3 hours, so everything is drying and curing at a different time. So minimum 3 hours. Some people like to wait a full 24 before they go and put their second coat. I think I'm gonna do that in this case. I'm gonna let this first coat set up. All right, guys, so for our next step, what we're gonna do is try a different method here. We've let it dry and cure overnight for about, I would say 16 hours. You don't have to do that. I think the minimum is 3 hours that you need to let it cure before starting to sand. 6 hours is really like ideal. That's what you ideally want to do if you're going to sand. So I'm trying a different method here. I don't want to kick up a ton of dust. Essentially, you know, with this process, a lot of times you can kick up dust, and I already kind of got started just testing this out for you guys, because again, this is an experiment. But I'll show you what I'm doing here now that I've had some success with it. Started with 120 grit. Don't do that because we did the sponge method. I tried that here, and as you can see, it took off a little bit too much, had a little bit too much bite. So don't do the 120. Start with 220 grit. Place that 220 grit inside of your bucket. Let it soak for a little bit. Let it get a little pliable. Get a spray bottle and a sanding block, and keep a microfiber cloth with you. And what you're gonna do is lightly mist the countertop. You can see I started here, and it's still super smooth. I'm flattening out all of those imperfections. This was a ridge and everything. So lightly spread. Now, initially my concern for this was that, oh no, I'm gonna have to let this all dry again. But as you can see, I did that like a few minutes ago, and it's dry. So it's gonna dry through and through. And it'll be smooth, and you can apply your next thing. With that, again, I made some mistakes. So again, this is a live experiment. Too much came off with that. Don't do that. It's just taking way too much off. You want these coats to be like solid. But then, you know, I'll take the 220 grit, wet. All right, wet. Then just go, no pressure. Okay. Wipe smooth, wiping in one direction, wipe smooth, so on and so forth. All right. Now with the edges, I'm going to be super careful with doing those. I'm even considering doing like 320 on the edges, but I'm going to try 220. I'm going to take it off the sanding block and just do it by hand, light touch. So coming around here, just kind of have my piece of sandpaper and lightly going with the edges. I want the edges to be thick because they get a lot of bump, and you want them to be durable. So that's my goal there, is to try to make those as durable as possible. And yeah, look how smooth that's coming out. All right, so just, again, take your time with this. It's not taking long at all. I think I'll be done and ready to start my next coat in like 5 minutes. Comparable to other videos, again, to other methods, people kick up a ton of dust and they have to clean everything off, and it just leaves a huge mess for you. So with this method that we're trying out together, I think this will make it a lot easier, a lot more clean. So yeah, keep on going, keep on sanding 220 grit, and then we'll be ready for our next coat. I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do for the next coat. All right, so you may be saying to yourself, man, these are coming out great, but I do hate the way that the jagged edge on the bottom looks. If you have a chisel, all right, okay, just keep it bevel side up, keep it flat. No pressure, just move it along. Okay. Get that excess off and make it look like a normal countertop. Look a little polished. I would just take a chisel right along the edge and just remove it. All right, here we are, coat 2. All right, I'll begin the process of wet sanding. I let this dry for 3 hours. I didn't go to full 6 this time. Hoping to get this third one on, as today is Sunday. I got work tomorrow, so I'm gonna get this knocked out. I got my ceiling fan going to help with the drying process, and I'm just doing a wet sand with, this time I'm gonna do 400 dried, okay guys, not wet. Dry on the edges, just to knock them down and get everything smoothed out. All right, just only on the face, okay? Now on the top side, I'm doing 400 grit wet. Again, I'm trying to take this up to 1,000 if I can. I want this to have like a really clean, smooth, polished look. It already has some like character, and basically, you know, it's not the finished product. It's still drying, still curing and everything. I do still have my mixture going, so it's gonna be like this grayish white, you know what I mean, type of color. And then it'll darken up once we seal it, so everything will be good. But the goal right now is just to try to get these edges that are feather finished pretty smooth before our next coat and final coat. Lightly going over this with 400 grit wet. And I'll be going back over with a sanding block wrapped around. So I'll take my little sanding sponge right there and wrap the 320 around and get the edges all neatened up and everything. I did take the time to go around with a chisel to just make this like flush, so to get off the excess stuff. And I'm probably gonna have to do it again, but it was worth it getting it while it was still damp, to make it a little bit easier on myself. Okay, so ready going for the third coat. I got the first batch mixed and she's ready to go. I got my tools all cleaned up, and I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna approach this last coat to make it flawless. She's nice and clean, ready to go. Now float, you don't wanna come in like, maybe like this. That's too high, so you're raking it off. Come in really low. I mean like almost parallel. I've learned to just be parallel. All right, and just to show you guys what it's going to look like, how smooth it's gonna come out if you just follow those 3 steps, okay? You have a little bit like this, but again, we're gonna clean that up with the sponge, but all in all, it's gonna look super clean. I'm gonna let this set up a lot more than I did before I hit it with the sponge last time. So I'm gonna let that dry, let it do its thing. You have a lot of leeway on time when it comes to the sponge, because this will still be kind of soft. I don't wanna take any off this time, and the sponge has a tendency to take it off, so just gonna be super careful. All right, so guys, this is day 3, final coat. Let these dry overnight. As you can see, these came out very evenly colored. Lots of cool patterns and variation. And what I'm gonna do is go back and just give it a sand. So I'll be sure to record those sanding steps. So again, we're going over the dry sand. I'm starting off with 320 grit for the top surfaces. we're gonna come back and make like a slurry coat and fill those little low spots in before we seal. Those can't be sanded out. So if it's a high spot, it can be sanded. If it's a low spot, no chance. Now, from the 320, after that step, you can bump up to your 4. And this is totally optional, by the way. If you went like 320 here, you'd be fine. You'd be terrific. You know what I mean? Like they would look great. But I'm going for a super smooth finish. So I'm going to go to 4. Then I'm going to level up to 800. I got some 800 here. It's ultra fine 800 grit. Okay. Nice and smooth. I want a polished look again. And everything is on sanding block. So from 800, you can go up to 1,000. That's if you want to. I'm going to show you guys the result. All right. So that's it. That's pretty much the steps. Okay. This is up to 1,000. Look at that. Okay. Look at the difference. You can see it right there. So that's just where I stopped, that line. Hazy. Sanded. Nice and smooth. All right, so we're approaching the final steps of applying our sealer. And what we did was a full cleanup. Again, I went back with the vacuum cleaner, as you can see in my video. You really want to make sure at this step you got everything looking how you want it to look, because at this point, I think we're at the point of no return. That's the most I've ever said point in one sentence. So take some tack cloth. I did a vacuum, okay? But I'm also gonna do a tack rag to just try to get up any dirt nibs or dust nibs that the eye can't perceive. And just anything extra that may interfere with our coat. We don't want that. So, lead up to that. So there is still some fine grit powder left over. So before we jump into sealing, anywhere where you taped off, like me, I taped around my sink because it's brand new. You want to take a utility knife, go ahead and score this, right, if you can. Okay, score around that edge. It's pretty workable, but you do want to score just so that the material doesn't lift up. Because if I was to try to take this tape off, you know, it might actually take some of the material off. So I want. We're on the home stretch here. So as you can see, through all of our steps we've taken, we've got these really cool countertops. And I'm going to keep showing these off because I'm really impressed with how this came out for being feather finish and only being like, I think I paid for the feather finish total. I think I paid like 25 bucks. So it's crazy what you can get with a little bit of patience, a lot of sanding and a lot of effort. So a lot of elbow grease, but you know, take your time with it and prep and everything will go well, as I said at the beginning. So for this step to apply this sealer, it's a 3-step process. So essentially what we're gonna do is first saturate. You're gonna need a water bottle, just regular water, pure water, okay? Have a water source ready. You're gonna need the concrete countertop sealer, mixing cup. And I picked up microfiber rags. I'm not sure which one is gonna work well. These are something I saw that, you know, is for staining and polishing. So I thought these will work out. They should be like lint free, essentially, basically. So I figured, you know, you get a streak-free finish with this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to switch over to the microfiber. I figured this would give me lint-free, but it may be a little texture because of the nibs on here. So didn't want to chance it. It can't hold a lot of product. But yeah, basically your first step, okay, when doing this is to saturate your countertops. You want to do this wet. Okay, so I'm taking my sprayer. Get that countertop. You don't want to apply this dry. All right, so then you're gonna go around your countertop, get this wet, and then you'll come back and I can take my microfiber. Now, for that first step, what you wanna do is go ahead and let that soak in, let it penetrate. Okay. Don't let it puddle anywhere. And just gonna wipe that in. So that's gonna soak up a lot. All right, just gotta let that soak up and go all the way around. You wanna go all the way around your countertop, make sure you don't let anything pool or puddle. Then I'm gonna show you how to mix this. The first ratio you're gonna mix is gonna be a 50-50. So you wanna kind of gradually build your way up to a full concentration. So you'll go from 50-50. You'll saturate the entire countertop. Then you'll go to, I think around 2-to-1. So about 75-25. And then you'll go to 100% strength with about 30 minutes in between coats is what the directions say. So we're going to follow those directions to a T. I'm going to, you know, show you guys how it comes out. Let's see. I'm just gonna go for 4 ounce and 8 ounce, 50-50 dilution. So we're gonna fill all the way up to about 4 ounce, see if that works for us. Let that fill up to about that's about 50-50, okay? I think Walter White would be proud of me on that one. Drop a comment if you love Breaking Bad. I still love that series. So I'm just mixing a little bit of extra. All right, we got our mixture here, lint-free towel, okay? Swirled it around a little bit. Get that nice and mixed up. Now we're gonna saturate it, I believe. I think the directions want you to saturate it. Don't leave any, probably should be wearing some damn gloves. But yeah, you saturate this product in. See that? Get it in there. Also forgot to mention, sorry guys, I'm learning as I'm going again, so stay patient with me. I'm just trying to give you as much detail, the details that I didn't have on certain videos. I'm trying to give you all that detail. So you want to keep this area wet, and you want to do this for about 5 minutes. So working about 2 feet apart, keep that area drenched for about 5 minutes. All right, so yeah, after that first coat, it's still setting up. Just laid it all down. You can start to see the true colors of the countertop starting to pop. Now, if you're wondering what I meant by 1-to-1, 2-to-1, let's just say you're not an expert at mixing. So that first coat was a 50-50. It was about half water, half product. This third one, I'm gonna take, so I already had this pre-mixed. So I did the water, right? So we did half water at 4 ounce. And then we did half product at 8 ounce. So I'm gonna take the product all the way up to this 12 ounce line right here. You can see that 350 ml. That'll be 2 parts product, 1 part water. All right, it's been 30 minutes. Now I'm coming back with my 75%, 2-to-1 ratio, and I'm gonna saturate again. All right, so we're 3 coats in. This is not dry yet, so give it some time. The product I'm learning just through wetting the concrete countertop surface multiple times. I know where like the light spots and the dark spots are. That's concrete in its nature. But essentially I found that this is a product that penetrates. It does not just rest on top, I don't think. I think it actually penetrates into the concrete. So it soaks in, so you want to make sure that it's getting down in. I'm gonna come back and show you guys what it looks like tomorrow morning. So I ran this by my wife because at first we were like, oh no, it's super dark. I thought it was gonna come out as light as it was before when it was dry. But after just sitting here talking about different towel options and everything, we're starting to see that if you look up here, after a while, it'll become more even and smooth. While it's drying, it's gonna have those dark marks. So, I don't know if it's like off gassing or if it's drying underneath at some level, some capacity, but it's pretty good. But essentially, you just wanna make sure that, it's drying at the right rate and everything. So, we got our 3 coats on there, and we're just gonna let this set up. It should dry to a satin finish and should lighten up quite a bit. So like stains like that shouldn't be there like that. Maybe that'll be. So I'm proud to show you all the results, okay? Look how this came out. These brighten up a ton. And then look at the character. I mean, all of the deep spots that were in before, some of that splotchiness went away, and then it just looks like a regular, natural countertop. So I'm really proud of these. Proud of this project and how it came out. So again, let me know down in the comments if I Bob Rossed you. That is not my intention. I hate YouTube videos on how-tos that don't give enough, like information and description and actual visuals on how to do it. So I know this video is a bit long, but my goal was to try to give you as much detail. And again, this is a live experiment. This is also my first YouTube video. So I'm learning how to record this stuff and do it at the same time. So if you guys are willing to grow with me and you were able to follow along, let me know. I also leave more detailed instructions down below, like literally written out every single tool I've used. Ones I didn't use, I'm going to exclude. I may have said to use this. So I'll leave that all down below. But I mean, look at how this came out. I cannot be happier. But man, look at that. Guys, I think this is a huge increase over laminate. And from what I've heard, people always like question the integrity of it. I think this stuff is solid, so it's I don't think it's going anywhere by a long shot. So yeah, try it out, give it a shot. If you're like me and you like the gray, perfect. You don't mind the gray, do a mixture, make a custom color. This would be a lighter than the other ARDEX countertops I've seen. Try out the white ARDEX Feather Finish in white. I think you'll get a nice, like awesome result if you want like white countertops. And you can get it to this smoothness, you know, so just a nice satin finish, still curing. So yeah, I'm excited about this, man. This is like one of the better projects, and I'll give you a better idea of what my countertops look like zoomed out here. So I still got a little bit of painting to do, a little cleanup, but man, the countertops are finished and I'm excited. 3-day process here. $10 a bag for the product. You only need about 2 bags if your kitchen is smaller than mine. Keep in mind I have a top island and then some countertop space. So, I mean, awesome project. I'm glad I took this on. Instead of doing like the traditional epoxy, I think this gives like a more unique bespoke finish. So it'll match with my bathrooms. I'm going with some micro cement in my bathroom. So wanted to have it all tie in.